Today I'm joined with Claudia Vidal, and we're going to talk about transitioning between a part-time agent to a full-time agent, or should you just start as a full-time agent right off the bat, and what's the right way to approach it. So Claudia is one of our new agents here at the office. She's been with us now for a few months, and she started off the back just full-time. She is also a mom and a wife, so there's a lot on her plate. So we're gonna ask her how she did it and how she became an agent full-time instead of just doing it on a part-time basis like some people choose to do, and how you can balance the two. Now, when I first started in this business, I jumped right into it, but it didn't mean that I made much money at all to be able to survive. So I had to think of creative ways in order to still keep money in my pocket while becoming an agent and learning the ropes and being able to survive that first year. So Claudia, for you, how's it been so far since it's been a new learning experience and you haven't had many closings yet? How are you transitioning into becoming an agent?
Well, it's a slow transition for me because, I'm trying to learn as much as possible, and I definitely decided to go full-time versus part-time. Also because I have the support of my husband, which is very important.
Very important.
It really comes down to your financial situation, your support situation, and because I have that support from my family, from my husband, I'm able to go into it full time and give it my all, and it has been rough because you're trying to learn everything, and then if you are with clients, it's like you're trying to learn as you go, and then you want to also sound like you've been doing it for a while and you know what you're doing, because they want to work with somebody who knows what they're doing. So it's been very humbling experience, but I think it's better for me to have done it this way versus if I would have had a part-time job or a full-time job doing this part-time. It would have been extremely overwhelming. Because it's already overwhelming as it is.
Yeah, I've seen it with a lot of agents that they think that real estate can be done on a part-time basis. They have a full-time job, a family at home, and then they still want to come after work or part-time hours to do real estate. But the biggest problem with that is that it's not as easy as they thought it would be. And then once they see that there's a lot of resistance and a lot of things that they have to put into it, they kind of get discouraged. And since it's not their full-time gig and they're still getting money from another place, they kind of lose interest after a few months.
Right.
Now, some people who are like destined and meant for this business will see right away that within the first few weeks or first few months that this requires a lot more time, and they'll then realize to make the transition into a full-time and then make the monetary part work one way or another. So for most agents, they think that they're going to come in and you're going to close one deal a month. That's what people think. I'll make extra money with real estate. It's not that easy. You really have to make a commitment to this business, and you really have to give it your all. Agents that go full-time are already at a huge disadvantage because nobody knows their name. They don't know the ins and outs of the business yet, so they're constantly learning. And when you do that on a short-term basis, along with many other things, that learning curve is going to be so much longer. And there's going to be so many more distractions around your day. And think about it, you have a full-time job all day, and you have to put up with all these people's personalities, all these attitudes, all these things that could go wrong at your other job. How do you think you're going to feel by the time you're going to go to real estate later on? You could be totally drained. So in my opinion, if you really think that real estate is right for you, you've been debating it for a while and you just keep coming back to it, make that transition to do real estate full-time, and then find a part-time hustle. And it doesn't need to be a 9-to-5 job. It doesn't have to be like a traditional part-time with an employer. There's a lot of people who do really well with driving Lyft a couple days or driving Uber a couple days a week. People who buy stuff at garage sales and sell it on eBay. Like, you got to be creative with these things. Like, when I first became an agent, I used to work all day as an agent and then go home and cut a few people's hair when I got home, and it were long days. I wouldn't get to bed till like almost midnight or after, but I made it work because I wanted it that bad. And at least with Claudia, you have a partner, and sometimes with an agent, if you do have someone you can rely on, make an arrangement with that person and say, look, I'm going to need you to hold us down for the next 6 months, for the next year, but I promise you that when the money starts to come in, you know, I'll make up for it, you know, and I'll give you a break, you know, whatever that case may be.
Yep.
So everything in life comes with sacrifices. So if you're looking in the short term and you want rewards right away, real estate is not going to be the business for you. If you really are passionate about this business and you give yourself that 6 month or 1 year time frame for you to really get things in gear, the rewards are definitely there. So Claudia, what are you expecting to see from, I guess, the rest of your first year as a real estate agent? You've already have a few deals in the pipeline. Where do you see your career going now that you're a full-time agent? You see it progressing?
I definitely see myself marketing myself and getting more listings. And then I do have other goals in mind, but for now, we're just going to take it one step at a time. And I think I'm going to focus on listings and better marketing strategies. So, yeah.
Do you think that would be possible if you were just doing this on a part-time gig?
For me, see, I think it's different for everyone. I think for me, probably not. I'll probably be too overwhelmed. Because the thing is, once you have a client, you need to give them time.
Yeah, when they have it.
They're going to call you all the time. They're going to want answers at any time of the day. Like, you can't be in like a meeting in another job and like not be available. So it's very tricky. I know that there are agents that are doing it part-time and that are successfully doing it. But for me personally, no. I think this way that I'm doing it is the right way.
Correct.
For me.
Yeah, I mean, there are people out there who are very dedicated, and I'm not going to say this is a generality for everyone, that you can't make it if you start part-time. I've heard great success stories from people who were police officers or teachers, and they did this part-time, and they were such a great salesperson, and they just worked so hard, took no time off, that they made it work. And that's possible. It's very possible. I mean, we have agents here in the office who have companies and they have other jobs, and they do on a part-time basis more business than some agents who are supposedly full-time do on their full-time basis. So it just depends on how you manage your hours. So let's just say someone gets out of work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. If they do more between 5 to 8 than most people do between 9 to 5 as a real estate agent, they can become a more productive agent than anyone else. It just depends on your time management. But if you've got a lot of things you're juggling, you may want to think about cutting back hours at your full-time gig and maybe turning that into like maybe a smaller part of your day. Or maybe work remotely. Ask your employer if you can get a few days a week where you can work from home. That way you have less distractions. Maybe you can kind of balance the two a little bit better. But there's a lot of creative ways in which you can do it. Or think about going in as a freelancer. So if you work for a company and you know really well how to do what that company does, see if you can find a way to maybe freelance your skills, through the internet, and see if there's other companies that might want to hire you on a freelance basis, so you can kind of remold your day and do things that require your time in real estate, and then do the other stuff part-time. So I know that we spoke about this today, and really I guess the outcome of it is that it really just depends on the person. If you want to make a general statement, you are better off going full-time if you really are passionate about this business. If you really want it that bad, you'll figure it out and you'll find ways to keep money in your pocket, because if you're a hustler, you're going to make it in this business, and you're going to make it in real estate, and you're also going to find ways to keep the bills paid and the lights on. So I think that if you are serious, go full-time. If you want to test the waters, go part-time, and if you feel that it's the right movement, start to make arrangements and start to see what you can do. I always encourage agents when they call me and they say, do you hire part-time agents? I say absolutely, because there is no such thing as part-time. Part-time, I think, is in your mind. Because if you consider yourself a part-time agent, you may only produce part-time, but if you just think to yourself, hey, I'm a real estate agent, period, no part-time, no full-time, you could create as much business on a part-time schedule as other people do on a full-time. So I do encourage them, and you know what, once they get the taste for it, they either like it or they don't, and then they can make that transition. So
right.
Yeah.
Like, can I just say
of course.
Again, so just going back to what we already said, it depends on the person's situation when you're coming in for the first time, whether you decide to be full-time or part-time. I also, like, for me, it was the right move to go this way, because I really wasn't losing much by leaving my previous job.
Sure.
Versus somebody else who maybe does have like a really good job.
Yeah.
They're bringing in they're bringing in the income that's like sustaining them. Then maybe their option would be to start off part-time and see if they even like it.
Yeah,
see if
correct.
they're meant for it, and then decide to make that transfer.
You know what I run into a lot is people that say that their current job situation is draining them, and they hate it. They feel like they went to school for this, and they're disillusioned now because the actual career path they took is not the one that they're happy with. So they want more flexibility. They want more reward at the end of the day because they work so hard, and they come in and they say that I want to leave this job so bad. But then they never do because they just feel like they're so comfortable with it. I think that if you ever come into a situation like that, you really got to think how much pain are you really putting up with, and just rip off that Band-Aid and just let it go. Because if you're really serious about not enjoying what you're doing somewhere else, that job will kill you. Not that this job is that much easier, but if you're passionate about it, you'll make it work and it'll be enjoyable. There'll be days in this business that you're gonna be flying high and enjoying everything you're doing. There'll be days that you're demoralized because every one of your deals is falling apart. So you do have to remember that it's not a salaried business. You get paid as your transactions close, and if you think like an entrepreneur, there's going to be a certain amount of fallout, and you do have to put a lot of deals in your pipeline. So thank you, Claudia, for joining us today, and I hope you guys enjoyed this segment. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down below. See you next time. Bye-bye.